Milo, is that you?
There, I think I got it. And now we begin. Part 3.
And now we begin.
Part 3 of the mic.
Do we begin now?
We'll begin right now. Well, actually, we began about 12 seconds ago.
Oh.
Part 3 of the... who told me? Somebody told me. I think it was Tony Cook. I got to get him back on here, too, several times. I think
the dulcet tones of Tony Cook.
I think he told me he could always tell when we'd be just talking, and then he'd go, well, I know you've turned the microphone on now. I said, well, how can you tell?
How can he tell that?
I said, how can you tell that? He says, by the way you're talking. He says, your voice goes up. Your voice goes up an octave, and you change your tempo. And I went, really? He says, yep.
Hope you don't do that when you're playing poker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a dead giveaway.
Yeah, it is a dead giveaway.
I think I'll no.
All right on this one.
Well, the people I play with on Tuesday are such nice people. I guess it was last November or something. Just for fun. About halfway through the game, I went, I got aces. Yeah. And they're looking at me, and they're like, yeah, they all started laughing. And I said, no, seriously, I got aces. And they're laughing, and then we continue to play, and I bet, and they call me, and I got aces. And then another ace comes down on the flop, and I said, no, I got 3 aces.
They're looking like you got 2 heads.
Yeah, and they I bet, and they keep
not
calling.
Possible. This isn't possible.
That's right. I keep betting, and they keep calling, and sure enough, I had aces.
And you just raked it all in. Yeah.
He said, thank you very much, boys.
Yep. Same time, same place next week.
That's right. This is, hi, Mike. How you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
You have aces, Mike?
All of them.
Oh, Mike is an ace.
Yeah, you got them all. Yeah. Oh, Mike is an ace. Look at that. Okay, yeah. for part 1 and 2, we had our trusty sidekick, Kelly. But he ran out of questions, so he ran out of questions, so he begged off.
Well, can I make a correction there?
Mm-hmm.
Kelly would have run out of question. There'd be no plural. He would have run out of question.
He run out of question. I shouldn't say anything. That's pretty mean of me. I love old Kelly.
Yeah, that was pretty.
We all do.
Yeah, that was pretty mean of you.
Yeah.
Any snow to clear
Coming
over?
from me, that was mean.
It was really mean, yeah.
I have no right.
No, that was like, I bet you Kelly's listening to this. He's either, I think right now he's at Micromart, and he's just started, and in 3 minutes.
Microtrains.
Micro something in Medford, Oregon.
Yes.
Yeah, where the big airport is.
Yeah, where the airport. So it can land. Apparently, it can land the biggest plane in the world. 3 planes. What?
3 times.
Yeah. What? I said it can land the biggest plane in the 3 planes. What? Side by side? What?
Well, the runway was like 8,800 feet long.
I've told you my joke about Newfie Airlines, haven't I?
Yeah.
Scott,
some may have not heard it.
Scott, have I ever told you my joke about Newfie Airlines?
No, you haven't. Let's hear it. Can I hear it?
Yeah, we can hear it. Mike, would you like to hear it? This is your show, so.
That's not my show. It's your show. I'm just the guest on the show.
Well, yeah, but we're taking up.
You're the star guest.
Yeah,
but I'd still love to hear about New Airlines.
Yeah. So in Newfoundland,
they're very fine people. Yes,
very fine people. But
they're people who took in all the planes on 9/11 when they got redirected. There's a pile of planes ended up in Gander, and they took care of thousands of people who were
thousands and thousands. That's right. They landed
thousands.
Yeah, they landed so many planes that they were running out of room to park them. I saw something about that. And they were running out of room parking them.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
it was a source of a play called "Come From Away."
What's that?
They based a plan called "Come From Away."
A play. Oh yeah, that's right.
That's true.
About the planes. Yep,
that's right. It is true.
Tony Award-winning play.
Oh,
Yep.
was it?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
Wow,
Before we
missed that one.
Before we go any farther, Mike, if you tell me you had a supporting role in the "Come From Away" play on Broadway,
my only support was buying a ticket.
Oh, okay. You were in New York and you
saw it firsthand. Wow,
yeah, I did.
Okay. When were you in New York?
That is so cool.
Oh, I've been to New York so many times.
Well, I guess so. Yeah,
that's a couple of years ago.
That's right, with the Polar Express.
Exactly.
When you were, because you're the vice president of production for the Polar Express.
That is correct.
Which is owned by American Heritage Railway.
Of Durango, Colorado.
Is it railway or railroad?
There's railways.
Railways.
Yeah, it's more than one.
And
more than one railway.
And I'm still so what Polar Express is, if people don't remember, is it's a moving play on railroads in the months of November and December, based on the 2004 movie starring Tom Hanks, The Polar Express. And American Heritage Railways licensed the rights to reproduce the basic movie on trains in the months of November and December. Am I right so far, Mike?
You're doing great.
All right.
Sound like a professional.
It sounds like you've done your research.
Yeah.
All right.
It's almost like you're reading something.
Yeah.
And so anyways, Mike, who's the vice president in charge of productions, is he goes off and he supervises the big ones, like the one in Miami, one in New York, one in Chicago. He supervises the big ones in the big cities, but it's licensed like 50 plus times across North America. And there's many people that supervise many of the smaller ones. And I'm still convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt, Mike cannot relay any stories because he's a fine young man working as an executive for Polar Express. But me personally, I'm convinced that some of these small railroads, have a very wide interpretation of what exactly it is they're supposed to be doing.
They do a very fine job.
They all do. Yeah,
boy.
That's right. Yeah, boy. And Matt Dowd, who's the owner of resourcedrail.com, he also works for American Heritage Railways. So did you hire him or did somebody else hire him?
I guess technically I hired him, but since we knew each other well prior, I sort of recused myself from that interview.
Oh, okay. So he had to be interviewed.
But we were working together.
Okay. So he had to be interviewed by other people and you excused yourself from that interview because you
did. I thought that was the right thing to do.
Because you had a biased opinion.
That's right.
All right.
And I still have a biased opinion.
There you go.
Matt's a great guy.
Matt is a great guy. Which brings me to, speaking of Resource Rails, this podcast, along with all the free podcasts every Monday on the AML network, as well as most of anything in the AML nation, is sponsored by Rapido Trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
And right now they're selling GE 44 tonners like crazy. I
bet they're probably going to have to hire a whole ship to bring the number they're going to get pre-orders for.
Yeah,
forget containers; they're going to have a ship full of them.
Yeah, wow. That's right. That's exactly what they're going to need is a whole ship to get all these. I saw this thing and I thought, oh my God, a 44 tonner that runs with today's technology, electronic technology.
Could you imagine that? I can't even imagine.
No, you're going to have to switch scales again, Scott.
I know. I was just thinking, I wish there was something like that in S scale.
Yeah. So now Bruce and I got into an argument about your GE, and I thought you had one 44 tonner.
I do, but it's no longer together. I took those apart for the running gear to put in my 70 tonners.
70 tonners, okay. Because the Greenville and Northern didn't have any 44 tonners.
No,
But who made the S scale ones?
That would be River Raisin.
Oh, that's right. And they're long out of business now, aren't they?
Yeah, but those things ran like a Swiss watch. I'm telling you.
So do you still have those 44-ton shells around?
Yeah, I actually have a guy up in Halifax wanting to buy them from me.
Okay.
He's going to put Stantons under them.
Okay, I was wondering if you could put like stands in there.
Yeah.
Wow. I just opened up the Rapido Trains website and clicked on freight cars, box cars, and they got the Union Pacific 40-foot ACR box car, and it's they've actually got finished examples of it. Holy smolies, are they ever beautiful? I love the ones with the black roof and the black ends.
Look at that.
They're beauties. They're sweet. They have
they are, aren't they?
They're designed from original blueprints, earlier late improved dreadnought ends. Of course, I thought I noticed that. Correct.
Oh, you have a keen eye.
Yeah, correct handbrake styles and housings. Again, I was pretty sure I noticed that right off the bat. Free rolling turned metal wheels, accurate paint and lettering, multiple road numbers available per scheme. So go there. So I highly recommend. If anybody could go to Rapido Trains and order something, tell them Lionel sent you. Tell them you heard about it on Modeler's Life, and
it's like everything they do is first class.
It is
absolutely.
Well,
I'm looking at those 44-tonners now. I'm like, wow.
Well, I think it's obvious that everything they do is first class because they chose our podcast to be the sole sponsor for it.
Oh, that is right. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like at the Lowe's.
First class all the way around.
Exactly.
Yeah, they make first class and they know first class.
Yeah. There you go.
First class.
Boom.
Yep.
Yeah. First class people.
So anyways, the Newfoundland government decided they needed to have a lot of people from Newfoundland moved to Southern Ontario, to the Toronto area. So they decided they needed to have their own airlines. So they had a big lottery, and they picked out two native Newfoundlanders to be the pilot and the co-pilot, and they sent them off to flying school. You'll be able to help us out with this, Mike, because you like planes. You may have already heard this story.
Sure.
You may have already heard this story. And anyways,
I don't think I have. I'm listening.
Okay, they trained, two guys got trained as pilot and co-pilot, and they came back, and they purchased a used 737-600 from Air Canada. And the big day came when they were going to make their first flight from St. John's, Newfoundland to Toronto. And they were very excited. They load up the plane. Everybody's got all their stuff on the plane. A lot of people had it in cardboard boxes and stuff, but they got the plane loaded up, and it was almost, it was like right on the edge of the weight limit. And the pilot turns to the co-pilot and he says, okay, this is the first flight ever of Newfoundland Airlines. We got to make this takeoff great. So they thunder down the runway, and they get, almost to the end of the runway, and they're so weighted, they're so loaded up, and they pull back, But anyways, they pull back on the yoke. They get the plane in the air. Everything goes wonderfully well. They're flying along. They follow the St. Lawrence River, and then when they get to Ontario, they follow the 401 till they get to Toronto. And then the pilot turns to co-pilot and says, okay, this is our first time ever landing in Toronto. Let's not screw this up. Let's try to have a really good. So they get, they do all the right things. They get clearance from the tower, and they're coming in, and they're coming in, and they're coming in, and they got clearance, and a little bit of turbulence, but they're coming in, and they touch down right at the edge of the runway, right at the edge of the runway. They throw on the reversers, the full thrust reversers, the brakes. There's smoke coming up, and they stop just at the edge of the other end of the runway. And the pilot says, holy mackerel, is this runway ever short? And the co-pilot looks out the windows and he goes, yeah, but is it ever wide? Get it?
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You gotta love it.
It's quite the story, Lionel. Quite the story.
Yeah. Apparently it's true, too.
Yeah, that's some good pilots. Yeah.
Yeah, that's some good pilots right there. All right, let's get on to this. Let's see if we can't get on to this and see if we can find out more about our buddy Mike May here. The guy that's he's a locomotive engineer. So let's recap. At the age of, he graduated high school. His family took him when he was in school, his mom and dad would often take him to the part of the place just off
Heston Steam Museum.
The Heston Steam Museum, which none of us had heard about.
There it is.
And
but all of you should check out.
But all of us should.
We will.
All of us should check out. And none of us had heard about it. And it's a fantastic steam park just off of Interstate 94, right at the border of Michigan and Indiana. Not that far from Gary, Indiana. Gary, Indiana.
No, I don't think anybody can say Gary, Indiana without starting the song.
I don't think so.
I think it has to be done.
Gary, Indiana, Gary, Indiana, Gary, Indiana. That's the town that knew me well.
Yeah, and then, of course, right after that, you got Trouble right here in River City.
Right here in River City.
We got trouble! Right here in River City! With a capital T, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool. We surely got trouble. Right here in River City! Remember the Maine, Plymouth Rock, and the Golden Rule!
It's like an unwritten rule somewhere.
Yes, it is. It is like an unwritten rule. All right, I'm going to start at the top of the list, and we'll see how far we can get through this. I had a question. I've never been out to Colorado and experienced either of these railroads. So what is the basic?
Oh,
wow. Okay, well, now I never knew a locomotive engineer. I never had.
Well, now you do.
Yeah, I never had the opportunity to ride in a cab before, and now I do. So now it's starting to seem now it's starting to seem like a worthwhile adventure.
Exactly.
And I don't want anybody else showing up saying, "Hey, I was part of one of the guys that interviewed you. Maybe I can get a cab ride."
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
That's not how this works.
Yeah. Well, according to you. So I have a question for you, Mike.
Yeah.
Can I be so bold as just call you Mike?
You can absolutely call me Mike.
All right. What is the basic difference between the Durango and Silverton and the Cumbers and Toltec?
That's a good question.
All right.
Originally,
hang on a minute.
Okay.
This is this is part 3. Well, it's part 3 of the 47-part trilogy, and now we're getting to the good questions.
Right.
You seem so surprised.
I don't know if I'm too surprised.
Yeah, and don't push me today, Mike, because when we're recording this. Last night, the Toronto Maple Leafs lost to the Chicago Blackhawks, which is the worst team in the league. And I just kept saying
that's pretty bad then.
Yeah, I kept texting because this year people were thinking the Leafs have a shot at the Stanley Cup, and I hear a bunch of you out there. I said they got a shot, and I spent all day texting my son, going, "How are we supposed to be going deep into the playoffs if we can't even beat the worst team in the league?" Okay, so what is the basic difference between Durango and Silverton and the Cumbers and Toltec?
They're, on so many levels, they're very similar because they're part of originally the same piece of railroad. There's 100 miles of track between the two. That's abandoned now. But kind of the easiest way to describe it is that the Cumbers and Toltec kind of stays up on top of the mountains. It goes up over Cumbres Pass, and then the Durango and Silverton, it's river grade, so it stays at the bottom of the canyon for its entire route. So it's all narrow gauge equipment. It's the same class of steam locomotives on many of the trains, about the same length of a day, but scenically they're pretty wildly different. Another thing about the railroad is the Durango and Silverton was the last piece of the Denver Rio Grande that was running passenger service of the narrow gauge. And so as they abandoned other things and closed shops, they just kept moving equipment to Durango. So the collection in Durango is pretty incredible. It's, the vast majority of the existing original passenger cars and things are all in Durango now.
So how did the Cumbers and Toltec, if it was all part of the same railroad, how did it become the Cumbers and Toltec?
It was
what did you say, Cumbers? Am I saying it wrong?
The Cumbres.
Cumbres. Wow, that's even more deeper
Yeah, that's way different than.
And I'm probably pronouncing it wrong too, but that seems to be the local pronunciation.
All right, we'll have to ask our buddy Rich. We have a guy on that's a part of our podcast that actually he should have been part of this podcast. Rich Winiski, we call him the Wiz. He knows everything. If you want to know why eyebrow hair grows long when you get older, he's the man to ask.
That's valuable information.
It is.
No, absolutely.
It's a question you'll be asking yourself in your 60s. So anyways.
Well, but I know who to ask now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's part of the original Cumbres or come. Now I can't even say it. Was part of the original, was all part of the Rio, what was it? Rio Grande?
Yeah, it's the Denver Rio Grande. So the Durango was the end of the main line on this division. And if you were headed back to Denver from Durango, you would go from Durango to Chama and then Chama to Antonito. And that section is now the Cumbres and Toltec. And then from Antonito to Alamosa, Salida, through Royal Gorge, blah, 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 all the way up to Denver.
Isn't there a Royal Gorge Railroad now?
There is. That's also part of it.
It's not part of the
Royal Gorge Railroad, not Cumbres to Toltec. No, the Royal Gorge Railroad operates as a tourist railroad through the Royal Gorge, but that piece of track, I believe now it's owned by a short line, but it's part of the Tennessee Pass line.
Oh, okay. The Tennessee Pass line? What's the Tennessee Pass line?
Which Tennessee Pass is still owned by Union Pacific, but they haven't run a train over it, I think, since like the mid-90s or something.
All right.
It's been quite some time. But that's one of it's another Trans-Colorado routes from Denver to Grand Junction.
There's so much railroad.
There's so much, a long time.
There's so much railroading out there. Like
now
I'm just totally confused about what you're saying.
Yeah.
The Tennessee Pass. Is that a railroad? Let me see. Tennessee Pass elevation 10,424 feet. Hey, Bruce,
up there.
Bruce, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Don't you think it's kind of romantic that while we're doing this interview, we can hear tables in the background scratching away on these wood structures?
Absolutely. It kind of adds to the ambiance. You can think of like the wooden cars of the railroad creaking away. And,
yeah. You're kidding me. No way.
You want to roll the tape back on that one, Lionel?
I am being so quiet.
Apparently not quiet enough.
God.
Listening to you do that.
It is a challenge for me to do this without you knowing it.
Well, here's two things you need to know about being a guest host or a co-host on a podcast. A, come with questions, which is a struggle for Kelly, and B, concentrate on the podcast and not some little project on your workbench, which is a struggle for the table master.
If you are doing a project on the workbench, not let it be hollow boxes.
Yeah, there you go.
Because they make extra loud noises.
Or be cutting something with your Dremel. Or last time snipping the ends off KD couplers, the air hose.
Yeah. You can have a whole list of things that Scott has done well.
I wonder if Rapido will still want to be the sponsor after this podcast.
I know. I'm worried I'm messing up some stuff here. Maybe I'll just all right.
Okay, can you explain all that?
It's a beautiful old structure.
I'll bet you it is. Can you explain that all to me again, please, and thank you, Mike? See, this is the problem. This is the problem with interviewing you. You're one of these guys that spews out about a half an hour's worth of information in like 3 minutes, and I'm like, what did he say? What?
Back up.
Yeah. So the original Denver and Rio Grande ran from Denver, and Durango was the end of the line.
It was the end of the main line. That's right.
End of the main
on this division. I mean, it's a much bigger railroad.
Absolutely, but we're talking about the 3-foot narrow gauge.
Yeah,
because there was no other
on this division.
Was there other?
There was, yeah.
Oh my!
There was, yeah. There was a ton of it.
Really?
There was 3-foot gauge all over Colorado at one point.
Wow. So
yeah.
So Durango and Silverton runs from Durango to Chama, or what's the farthest it goes? Antonito or Chama?
Well, the Durango and Silverton runs between Durango and Silverton.
All right.
But once upon a time,
right,
that was originally built as the Silverton branch, and Durango was the end of the main line. So the main line went back east from here to Chama, New Mexico, and Chama was another division point that ran over to Antonito, and that piece of track is existent today as the Cumbers and Toltec.
And why do you have any idea?
Okay.
Yeah, Rich Winisky right about now is pulling his hair out. He's slamming his head. If he's listening to this in his car, he's slamming his head into the steering wheel going, we've been over this time and time again.
How many times do we have to do it?
Yeah, how many times do we have to do it? Rich has a lot of the same tendencies as my grade 12 English teacher. So the Cumbers and Toltec, a bunch of people then. So somehow the Durango and Silverton, it was brought from the ashes by an individual, right?
Yeah, kind of. The Durango and Silverton was the last chunk of 3-foot gauge that the Rio Grande actually operated. So even after they severed the main line, they kept operating the Silverton branch in the same sort of tourist service that it runs today. And they ran it until 1981. And that's when it was purchased by a guy named Charlie Bradshaw, who purchased it from the Denver Rio Grande. And that's when it became the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad Company.
Okay. And then the Harper family bought it off of him.
Bought it in 1998 off of Charlie Bradshaw.
So in reality, the Durango and Silverton has been kind of constantly running or been in constant use forever almost.
That's exactly right. It is run at least every summer season since it was built.
Wow. But then the stretch between Silverton and Chama was abandoned.
Between Durango and Chama was cut in, 1968.
So is Cumbers and Toltec south of Durango?
It's southeast. The railroad kind of went south to get around a part of the Continental Divide.
Okay.
That's really high up. So they built sort of south and east to Chama, and then at Chama is where it kind of comes north and east again to get up to Antonito, and that's when it starts headed up towards Denver. But yeah, there is like a hook in it basically to get below the mountains.
And the Durango and Silverton is privately owned. And am I correct in saying that Cumbers and Toltec is state owned?
That's correct. Yeah, it's owned by Colorado and New Mexico jointly.
Right, because it crosses crosses the state line.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Did you know you can't haul Miller beer from Texarkana, Texas to Georgia? That's illegal.
I had no idea.
Yeah, at least it was in the 70s, which made for a great movie. Was it Miller beer? Bruce, you would know this.
I thought it was Coors.
Coors, that's what it was. Coors, yeah. You couldn't.
Coors would make sense.
Yeah, you couldn't haul Coors from Texas.
Eastbound and down.
Big deal out in East
Coast. Load of Coors.
Yeah. That's right, exactly. You couldn't haul a load of Coors beer.
I remember whenever they started selling that here, and it was like the biggest thing since sliced bread. Hey, they're starting to sell. You can buy it at the grocery store.
And you didn't have to haul truckloads of it back anymore.
No, they actually started after that movie. They started selling it here. Said enough of that wildness.
But
for a while, and Coors had a limited market area because they did some or didn't do something to their beer that sort of limited the shelf life. So they had a limited market area they could sell it and still keep the beer fresh.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it was due to the alcohol content, though, wasn't it? That's what I was understanding.
And seeing as how he's from the South. You are from the South, aren't you?
No. What would make you think that?
I don't know. You kind of remind me of Goober from the Andy Griffith Show. So
we're going way back.
Sitting on the porch, scratching away on a piece of wood, whittling away.
I'm whittling.
Yeah, that's what you're doing. Hey, Mike, can I just break from tradition in here and do a little something?
Please.
Oh my God!
Can I just basically offer you a blanket apology for all of this?
Sure. It's not necessary, but sure.
All right, so
that's a break from tradition.
Yeah.
Usually, just never mind.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we can leave that subject. The main difference probably between the Durango and Silverton and Cumbers and Toltec is the Durango and Silverton is a stretch of railroad that really, technically, has always run at least every summer and never been abandoned. And the Cumbers and Toltec is a stretch of railroad that was resurrected by the states of New Mexico and Colorado and a group of volunteers that constantly work on it.
Yeah, it's true.
All right. And
wow.
And you
got it.
Okay. All right. Next topic is George the goalie.
George the goalie.
Yeah, because I need to talk about to somebody about George Bogatuk that's going to give me the straight poop.
Oh man. Okay.
Like
he knows where I live and everything.
Well, and he claims that you guys are friends.
He was here just 2 nights ago, as a matter of fact.
Oh, was he for an operating session or what?
We were showing the layout to some mutual friends.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say we actually had an operating sessions, but trains moved, so that's something. All
right. So how did that come about? So you guys were just like, how did some guys that you knew were in the area, or some guys you wanted to show the layout to? Like, I'm fascinated by the fact that Durango. I think that's the common thread throughout all of the world is that there are way more people. In every town, there's way more people that are in the hobby than you would even imagine.
I think that's very true. Yeah, these were friends that were from up in Wyoming.
Okay,
that were down visiting George. So
okay,
called me and said, "Can you come over and look at the layout?" I said, "Sure, of course."
There you go. So he
had a great time.
So he claims he's in some sort of a hockey league that has like 300 guys in it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. I don't know the specific number, but he talks about there's 5 teams in this league and 6 teams in that league and yada, yada, yada. And I'm thinking there's 5 people in Durango, and yet somehow there's this massive hockey league.
7.
Okay, 7. And yet somehow there's this massive hockey league. Do you think there actually is this many teams, or is George just kind of made all this up in his mind?
No, he's not making it up. The hockey program here is crazy.
Is it?
It really is. Yeah. They have games. I'm not involved in it, so I can't totally speak to it, but I know that I've talked to so many people that are a part of it. They're like, "What are you doing tonight?" or whatever. And it's like, "Well, I have a game at midnight." I'm like, what? But that's the only time they can get ice time because it's booked all day.
Right.
It's wild.
Right. And there's only one.
So
there's only one.
There's only one rink. Yeah. We probably could have several, but we don't.
How many are there in our town, Bruce? Like 5, 6, 7?
Yeah, I think I can think of 5 right off the top of my head. Yeah. There's probably a couple more.
Yeah, there's at least 5 off the top of my head, and then there is more. Yeah, because there's 2 at Innisfil. There's 2 at Eastview. There's one on. There's one on.
There's one out at Holly.
There's one out in Holly. There's one not far from you down there at the corner of Huronia Road.
The Molson Center.
Yeah, and the Molson Center, and then there's there's the National Training Rinks, which are 2 smaller ones. Just that's right. Baby Drive. So that's like 9. That's like 9 we've counted already. That's bizarre.
Yeah, we still have 1.
Yeah.
Not to mention the small ones they put in on some tennis courts in the winter.
That's true, and there's even one in my little town here. Yeah, in the winter, there's a guy around the corner from me there's a guy around the corner from me that built like a 30 by 50 foot ice rink for his kids. And I mean, there's games going on there.
That's cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is. And there's games going on there all the time. Some good games too. I actually go over and watch when I'm out walking. All right, so there actually is this huge hockey life.
George is right.
All right.
Yeah,
okay.
There really is. Now, I haven't seen George play, so I guess I can't swear that he's actually a goalie, but he's probably telling the truth.
I think he is about that, yeah. I just wondered if
he think so.
Yeah, he was always talking about all these games he's involved in. And I just hope that between games he airs out his equipment. I hope he's not one of those guys.
I mean, gosh, let's hope so.
Yeah, I'm hoping
it's not so bad in the wintertime, but it's a killer in the summertime.
Yeah.
You don't get your equipment between games. Then you open the trunk of your car and it's holy geez, what died in here? Oh yeah, it's equipment. That's equipment I got to put on when I get to the arena.
Yeah, and there's no and when you're playing pickup hockey in your 20s and 30s and 40s, it doesn't matter who you're playing against or who you're playing. It doesn't matter who you're playing with. There's always one guy that hasn't washed his equipment for a while.
Yeah.
And the whole room is...
I just wonder why that is.
He pulls it out of the bag in the locker room and everybody's going, oh, geez.
The guy beside him collapses, you know. All right. That's enough about that. So how often do you go over to see George at Soundtracks?
Oh, not near enough.
Well, let me ask you this.
Good answer.
Yeah, let me ask you this question. This is a good question, I think. And obviously you'll rate it as we go along. But how bizarre is it to have a major model railroad manufacturer in the town of Durango that isn't but 30,000 people?
Yeah, I think that it is kind of unusual. I've never really thought much about, I don't know. I mean, I'm so used to it. They're here, right? But it's definitely kind of odd. I mean, I think that I don't really know their whole story, but I think that a lot of it was they moved the company here because they wanted to be here, you know, so that connection to the railroad in the Southwest is not by accident, you know. I don't actually remember where the company started. I think it might have even been like up in Massachusetts or something, but I could be totally
it's in It was in Massachusetts.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Let me ask you an honest question.
So now you're just testing me.
Yeah, now I'm just testing you. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Now I'm just testing you.
But you know right now though, Lionel, with that Massachusetts reference, you can put Tom Jacobs' favorite song somewhere on the closing credits to drive him nuts.
We can't put it on the closing credits because we have a song for the closing credits. Every once in a while, somebody will say you could put that on, and I'm thinking, have you never listened to the last 800 episodes of the show? The last 400 episodes have been the same music at the end of each episode. We have a solid closing now for
this is true. And the latest rendition by David Hyden, they tell us.
Well, yeah, that's true. You know what? We'll just plop that song in here right now for people, so that they know.
There you go. Especially for the Queso Cowboy, Tom Jacobs. Enjoy.
And the lights all went down in Massachusetts the day I left. Standing on the road, trying to hitch a ride to San Francisco. Got to do the things I got to do, and the lights all went down in Massachusetts.
So that was nice. I enjoyed that. I hope Tom did.
That was you know, we don't hear that enough. You know,
yeah.
And I'm sure that's why Tom's always mentioning it because he doesn't get to hear it enough.
Yeah, and we're right in the middle of, or probably by now we've had an episode or two of the Springfield interviews.
Yeah.
All right. So
we're getting plenty of.
Yeah. So okay. So let's. Okay. We're happy. You know George really well. He was just at your house. It's pretty cool that Soundtracks is in Durango. And whenever you need, so what's your, here you go. What's your decoder of choice?
It's entirely Soundtracks.
There you go.
The layout's all Tsunami 2s.
So how far is you don't live right in Durango, do you?
Really close. Just outside of town.
Okay. And how far do you have your own house or an apartment or what?
It's townhouse.
Okay. All right. Don't have to.
Yeah.
Townhouses are nice, especially if you're a single guy like you.
Yeah, it's great. You can lock the door and leave, and you don't have to mow the yard or anything.
Exactly. That's
that's the beauty of it.
Which is ideal for a guy that spends 2 months of the year on the road.
It's like 6 months of the year on the road.
Really?
But yeah, it's great.
Is it 6 months of the
Yeah,
year?
really.
How come 6 months?
Cumulatively.
How come?
Just I do a lot of traveling for pre-production work.
Oh, yeah?
Things up before we actually go out on tour. Yeah.
So okay, let me ask.
Go
ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you know what? I was
in the off season when we're not on tour, I do a lot of 4 days here, 4 days there, very in and out.
So why? Okay,
when we're actually on tour, it's about 3 months.
So let me ask this question because I'm just gonna I've already admitted to the fact I'm a fanboy, and which is kind of creepy for you, I think, really, when you think about it.
I mean, it's a little creepy, but we'll allow it.
He's making an exception here.
Yeah.
Right.
There's certain things we do in life we're not proud of, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm interested because I'm assuming as the VP of production and your main, I kind of understood your main job was to look after the bigger ones, like in the big cities. But do you go out?
Yeah.
So this travel, is this still going out to or are you going to other places as well?
Other places as well. I definitely concentrate on the large scale events that we do, but certainly anywhere that's new, I tend to get involved in those and setting up new things. The relationship with Warner Brothers means we're usually out at their studio once or twice a year. Yep. I'm going to Australia in a couple of weeks.
Oh, no. Wow.
Because we've got some new events down there. So, but again, it's in the mission of the setting up new things. Working with the different short lines that we work with and working with Amtrak. We spend a lot of time on site in their offices too. So yeah, it ends up being a lot of things like that: conferences, trade shows, recruiting for our events. And then of course too, like I deal with a lot of just other business ventures with American Heritage Railways. So, I've got some involvement with the Durango and Silverton, the Great Smoky Mountains Railroad, just other things like that different projects that are company projects I'll end up getting involved in and travel since, only Durango's in Durango.
Because you're a big shot at American Heritage Railway.
That's what it is.
All right.
I'll let you say it. I'm not going to say it.
Well, I just
to the big shot.
Yeah, I just said it. You're a big shot at American Heritage.
There you go.
Railways.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Exactly. You got to get that.
Were you going to ask a question, Bruce?
When you go through some of these ones that are going, setting up for the first time, they get some extra attention and guidance on what they have to do and what's expected, and you may talk to them more often, the other guys, for the first couple of years while they get the show on the go, as it were.
Yeah, that's actually quite accurate. Usually when things are new, there's I don't want to say we hold their hand, but we try to provide whatever support we possibly can. So definitely a couple of visits on site to the new places, lots of support by phone and video, of course. But we also make a point that all of our venues, somebody from our staff goes to their event, so it makes December really busy.
Oh, so they actually go and observe the event to
well, it's running,
critique it and make sure everything's going as it should.
Yeah, we like to say it's to support it, not to critique it.
Right.
It's more about whatever we can do to identify that it's like, hey, we could improve this, and we actually have a thing that you could probably use to make this better. Or you should talk to this other company too, because they've been solving the same problems, or different things like that. But it's always in a mission of improvement, or
I know, great show,
support.
but let's try tweaking this, tweaking that, and maybe even a better show, and you guys will have a lot more fun type thing.
Exactly. Or like, hey, this thing you're doing, like, that's totally the hard way to do it. Let me show you something else, that kind of stuff. Or, we're always taking a lot of the things that we do on our own productions. We kind of use them as a test bed,
Right.
so we'll try new material or new products or new whatever. And if it goes well, then we'll try to disseminate that out to all the license hosts too, and help them out in that sense. But it means a lot of travel for everybody, not just myself. The whole company is very travel centric.
Do you get tired of the travel?
Not really. There are times that I get sick of being in an airport, but I like to make the most of it.
Sure.
I definitely enjoy seeing new things, and I think that stuff like that, you can enjoy the fringe benefits of it, or you can get upset about the realities. And at some point, like, I'd like to be at home more, but I also, I appreciate the fact that I get to go to a lot of cool places, and I just kind of, this is me personally. Some people do it different, but if I'm in a city and I've got an hour off, I'm going to go find something to do. I'm not going to sit in the hotel room. Make the most of where you're at. There's always something interesting to see out there, right?
Okay,
absolutely, yeah.
So by the time we air this, it'll probably be late fall of 2023. No.
Just in time to be on the road again.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll definitely be on the road then. Yep.
This is actually being aired in the first Monday of April. So what have you seen so far? What is the coolest thing you've seen this year involved with your travel? Have you traveled much yet?
No, I really haven't traveled much yet this year. This is after we get off of the tour, where I'm gone basically all of, half of October, all November, all December, part into January. So I try to just park in Durango for a couple of weeks if I can. So I haven't really done too much yet, but I'll be down in Tucson, Arizona for a little while. I've got a conference in St. Louis I've got to go to. I've got a meeting with Amtrak in Philadelphia.
So let me ask you a really...
trying to think. That's all in the next 3 weeks.
Let me ask you a stupid question. It seems like a stupid question to me. Like, you say you got to have a meeting with...
no stupid question.
You haven't listened to the podcast enough, I don't think. Yeah, you might want to listen to a couple more episodes before you nail that down.
Right.
So you say you're going to have a meeting with Amtrak. And I'm thinking to myself, have these guys not figured it out yet? I'd be like, well, we've been doing it for 7 years. Like, what aren't you getting?
Yeah, this one, no, that's actually a good question. This particular one's about new ventures. So that's why it's, so then let's go sit down and talk about some new ideas that, the one about let's turn Chicago back on. I mean, that's just a couple phone calls.
Right. Okay.
Because that's repetitive. We pretty much know what we're doing. We need to, who's the new players? Has anyone changed jobs? Those kinds of things.
All right.
But you're right. That kind of stuff doesn't really necessitate.
So is this new?
Meeting.
Obviously, you can't give us details or maybe even hint at it. But are these new ventures with American Heritage Railways that Amtrak and I'm assuming you guys call it AHR.
AHR, that's right.
All right. So are these?
They're new Polar Express adventures, much like the Chicago event and the New Orleans event.
We just had this discussion. Why are these guys? Are these guys not understanding what they're doing on other places on Amtrak? Like, it's a new venture. It's a new Polar Express. Guys, just pull out the book you're using in Chicago and repeat that in New Orleans. What aren't you getting?
If it was that easy, I wouldn't have a job 6 months of the year. I wish it was.
There we go.
But by the time you figure out equipment, where the equipment's coming from, what kind of cars we're using, how the station track works, an operating plan, crewing, there's always different agreements that have to be made with the station facilities and services, and it's a big undertaking. So all of the venues are different, really. Like the playbook is kind of the same, but how you answer each question is,
all right.
There's a lot of details to work through.
And I would think to myself, okay, so let me see if I can ask you this question. So, okay, so turns out we're going to do Polar Express in New Orleans with Amtrak. Why are you involved? Like, is the whole thing more towards AHR, where they're in charge of organizing the station and they're in charge of organizing the track and this and that? Or is it more that Amtrak is in charge of all that and you guys are just overseeing it?
Yeah, that's probably a good way to say it. Like we contract with them based on the operating plan that we need, but of course it has to be mutually agreed on. So we make the plan and then they essentially execute it. But making the plan, like there's a lot of back and forth, right?
Okay.
But ultimately we run the show, right? And then the train is kind of a giant prop within the show.
Right.
Is a way to look at it.
So are you guys going to Amtrak and saying, hey, you don't have a show in New Orleans. Why don't you do a show in New Orleans? Or is it Amtrak coming to you going, hey, we don't have one in New Orleans. We'd like to do one in New Orleans. What do you guys think?
It's actually the first way you said it is how it started. But we've grown a really good working relationship with them. And so it is, I would say it's much more collaborative now than it was when it started.
Okay.
It's really become a collaborative, like, we want to do this, so let's both talk about potential places.
Okay. And how many new places? So, you must be kind of try to keep it. It mustn't be like every year you're going, okay, well, we can open New Orleans and Pittsburgh, but that's it for this year. You can't be opening a bunch of them at the same time or you'd be overwhelmed.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but yeah, we have to be really careful about how much can you really take on in 1 year, because certainly a new one is a lot more complicated than reopening one that ran the prior year.
Right. So now you say you have meetings with Warner Brothers, and I'm thinking, what's there to have meetings with Warner? Like if I was the guy running Warner Brothers and you guys were back again, I'd be like going, it's a bear and a conductor. What aren't you getting?
That one's, it's a lot more about just the business side of it. Legal, financial, all that kind of stuff. Contracting.
Well, wouldn't that be just already like one time? Like is every single town got its own contract with Warner Brothers? I thought you guys would have the overall contract and you guys would decide.
We do.
Okay. So you guys basically you guys are just looking for free trips to Hollywood and hoping to get a walk-on part in one of the latest Marvel movie or something.
It's exactly what it is. I've not been in a movie yet.
Who's the most famous person you've ever met when you're out there?
Gosh, I'm not sure I've met anyone famous out there at the studio.
Oh.
I really don't think I have.
Oh, well.
Maybe I'm going at the wrong time.
Yeah, exactly. Who's the most famous?
Or maybe they hear you're coming and they bill.
That could be too.
Yeah. Who's the most famous person you've ever met, period?
Oh, my God. I'm not one who's usually very starstruck, so I guess I don't.
Well,
don't really think about it.
Apparently, we haven't made any kind of an impression on him.
Apparently not.
Well, I'm already starstruck here, so
But he really hasn't met us in person yet.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
And that'd
be a whole different moment.
Yeah, that's something you can look.
Yes, absolutely.
That's something for him to look forward to.
Absolutely.
That all sounds. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So, if I'm getting on the train and if I'm doing the Polar Express in Miami, what would someone expect to pay for that excitement?
The pricing is all there. It's all dynamic, right? So it's different depending on the time of day, how close to Christmas, all that kind of stuff. But what class of service? But anywhere from $50 to $100 is kind of a broad range.
So it actually,
somewhere in there.
So in Miami, if you do it in the middle of November, it would be cheaper than 5 days before Christmas.
Usually, yeah.
Really?
Now, the day after Thanksgiving, those are pretty hot tickets too.
Are they really?
Yeah. Thanksgiving weekend's definitely hot tickets.
Well, yeah, but couldn't you just charge everybody the same price rather than upping the price? Well, just because it's a hot day? I mean, come on. This is going to be one of the most popular podcasts of the year.
What if?
And I'm not going to charge.
What if we said we're lowering the price on the?
Oh, well, there you go. There you go.
Isn't that nice of us?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because this is going to be one of the more popular podcasts of the year, and I'm not going to double the price on this one.
Yeah, there you go.
Just keeping it free.
True.
Yeah.
I have a question. You mentioned it depends on class of service. Are there different classes of tickets you can get through this event?
Yeah, some of them have first class.
Okay,
and a lot of that is more related to the rail equipment. Like if someone's using a business car on the event, those are usually a much higher price than a coach.
So fancier digs than just the okay.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
I know the Blue Ridge Mountain one, they have a different price range.
Yeah. And the ones that I run are mostly consistent. We do run first class at a few places, but for the most part we don't.
Must be pretty
Brightline doesn't have it.
Must be pretty cool. It must give you a pretty good feeling to be. I mean, I understand you're an employee and all that, and I understand you showed up after they'd started this, but it must be kind of I mean, I can almost see where this would give you a feeling of fulfillment because, man, yeah, like, I mean, and I think I asked you the question, about 30 episodes back. I think I asked you the question about, do you have some kind of a feeling of, these people are getting involved in railroading because, like the amount of people that are interested in trains is staggering. Regardless of whether it's they're getting on the Polar Express or, the train at Disney World or they're model railroaders or they're getting on the Durango and Silverton. I mean, the amount of people that are interested in trains is staggering. Like we had this discussion a while ago. You'd be a good guy to have this discussion with. Not that you're a photographer or anything, but is it just because it's one of the mainstays of American heritage and heritage throughout the world that trains are so interesting?
That's a really interesting question.
Now we've gotten to interesting.
Wow, that was good.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Gosh,
he's a pondering hard on that one.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, what is it about trains and like American heritage that I don't know what it is that it just has such a fascination to so many people, and even folks that aren't really into it, they can still find fascination.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
like we have so many people that ride the Durango and Silverton that don't know anything about trains, but they find themselves fascinated when they're here.
Yeah.
And maybe it is just so much of our cultural heritage over 200 years. But yeah, there's something about them.
Yeah, let me put a spin on that question. With you running the Polar Express, are a lot of people, they've seen the movie with their kids and they want to do it on the train, and that's why they're doing it? There's some interest in trains, and dad decides they're going to haul the family out to see the train and ride the train. And by the way, it's something to do with the Polar Bear Express, a mix of the two, or what's your sense?
Yeah, there's definitely a mix of it, but I think that the vast majority of people that come to ride it don't come from the interest in trains element of it.
Okay.
I think the vast majority are there because of either the relationship to the movie or the fact that it's a Christmas event that's unique.
Right.
But all of that is much more from the event side than it is from the railroad side. Now, we certainly see some of both. But I think in this particular instance, it's far more. I mean, I'm certain of it. It's far more people that are there for what the brand is or what the event is before the fact that it's a road activity.
Okay.
But you could make the argument that one of the main romance parts of the movie is that it's on a train.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what makes this event stand out. It's we always describe it as, it's at least like when we're talking to new employees and things, we describe it as it's just theater on a train, right? But that's what makes it stand aside from any other theater in a theater.
Yeah, like it's like you couldn't do it like theater on a bus wouldn't be the same thing.
It's not the same, exactly, right?
Not exact. Yeah,
you've tried that, Scott. Doesn't work quite well.
It doesn't work out.
Doesn't work
when I bring Lionel along.
Yeah, well, all right. I don't know.
That's good to know. I won't try it then.
Yeah, and also, Mike, I don't know if we told you about this, but I had a little bit of a problem with Scott's bus when I first saw it, and I kind of backed it in the corner of his garage.
Yeah, I heard something about that.
Yeah,
and I haven't forgotten that.
Yeah, that's the problem. He's still hanging on to that, like as if. Yeah, like it happened yesterday, and it's like time to move on, buddy.
Yeah, we need to just move on, Scott.
But he's got the busted taillight hanging on the wall in the garage.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe you need to throw that out, Scott.
That's what I need to do.
Yeah. Just when's trash day this week? Just put it in the trash can and
Friday.
Give it a salute goodbye, and then you can get on with life as normal again.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have a resident over there all weekend, so it should be. I'll forget it then.
You're gonna have somebody staying at your bus, or are you parking their RV over there?
Yeah, my little buddy.
I was gonna. Don't tell me your little buddy Nick's coming back.
Yep.
He's moving in.
You're not gonna tow his car, are you?
No, he gets to meet Lexi because Lexi's coming into town.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, everybody's coming to town this weekend.
So Scott has a dog named Lexi that his daughter took, but it
stole. Kidnapped.
Well, yeah, let's get right down and call it what it is. She stole the dog.
She took it.
His sweetheart baby stole his dog, and that's a real conundrum, isn't it?
It is. It's a country song.
It is too.
Take my dog, country roads.
Yeah, you can take my daughter, but not my dog.
Yeah, take my daughter, but not my dog. Yeah.
I better not let that get out.
Yeah. Well, I thought you said your son-in-law listens to this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're in trouble, buddy.
Yeah, I'm in trouble.
You're gonna get that look from your daughter that she'll look into your eyes and you'll just smell. Go, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't
know what I was thinking. It was late at night.
Yeah.
It was late at night. I was talking to Lionel. You know how it's like.
Yeah.
She'll go, "Oh, Daddy."
Yeah. That's right. Blame it on me. All right, let's we'll close up that.
Well, Kelly's not here.
No. And I notice, Scott, you've been asking about the same volume of questions as Kelly. You do understand what the whole idea of an audio podcast is, right?
But you know what? Let me tell you this part about it. I was thinking just a minute ago, every time I start to ask a question, you ask it. So I'm like, just let Lionel do it. He's doing a good job. You really are good at this, Lionel.
I'd be better if you asked a question. You must have a question, but let's see.
I'll have one before it's all out.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Mail it to me. Yeah. You know what? Mail it to me, and I'll read it on.
I'll mail it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, here's a question from little Scott Lister in South Carolina. Scott's asking.
Came in a roving reporter.
So, what's the name of the tourist railroad near you, Scott?
The Smoky Mountain Railroad.
And how far away from you is it?
About an hour and a half.
Okay, so Mike, the next time you go into the Smoky Mountain Railroad, you have to make plans to go visit Scott because you will be blown away by his S-scale model railroad.
I'm going to do it.
Yep, we will meet up. I'll even come and get you.
All right.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones I'm at pretty often because it's an American Heritage Railroad. So
yeah.
Okay, well there you go. If you're there,
that's a fun railroad. It really is. We should do that all as a AML Nation one.
Well, I thought we were doing that one.
You got Scott Palooza coming up.
Yeah, I thought we were doing it at Scottapalooza.
Well, we can do it then. That'd be a great time.
So
we have an insight on maybe renting the whole train. We could, rent a couple of cars.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's for sure because I'm made of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't take it with you, Scott?
That's right. Can't carry it with you.
I had a question. Oh, yeah. Mike, I had a question for you. Don't tell me.
Go for it.
Hang on. I can't remember. Anyways, you got to promise me that you guys are going to connect. Oh, yeah, because I think you guys would really enjoy each other's company because We've talked about your layout. Your layout is beautiful. You can find it on YouTube if you type in Mike May, Yukon, and White Pass. Well, don't laugh.
I will say something about that, Lionel.
I'm doing the best.
A lot of those.
I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah, but I watched a lot of those videos that he's made, and those are really, really good videos.
They are indeed.
Wow.
Well, there you go. See? And you guys are laughing at me. So I'm typing. Here's what I'm
not laughing at you at all. I'm just thinking it's amazing the quality of his videos that he makes.
Because
Yeah, they did a really nice job with that series. And they're still doing them.
There's a series? What are you talking about?
The video that I did on it was it was in 2020. It started with the National Narrow Gauge Convention when they weren't able to do it because of the pandemic. And so they started this online series of different layout tours or manufacturer interviews and whatever. So that's what my layout tour is part of that series.
Right. But
they're really nice. They're very, very well done.
You don't have a YouTube channel though, right?
I don't. Not my own.
No. Okay. So
I have enough things to do.
Apparently Scott's been drinking heavily.
No, it's the same one we were looking at last week.
You said a whole series of videos. You mean those guys have the 4D PNR guys?
Yeah, they have a whole bunch of plenty railroads to see.
Okay, there you go.
I guess I was kind of changing the subject. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
So if you go to, what is the 4D PNR? So Pacific Northwest region, maybe? What's 4D PNR mean?
Fourth Division, Pacific Northwest region.
Fourth Division.
My guess.
All right. Anyways, they have a whole pile of videos here.
Sounds good.
Yeah, let's go with that. But you're right. There is a ton of great videos on it. So
what year was that?
I'm not finished.
Narrow Gauge Convention that they did that one.
They actually did it last year, 2021.
Oh, okay, cool.
It was up in Seattle.
So it is actually
Tacoma officially, I guess.
So there he was finally asking a question, Bruce, and I was going to cut him off.
There you go.
Yeah, you were going to boot me out.
So it's 4 D as in David, P as in Peter, N as in Nicholas, R as in Randy movies. 4DPNR. So you should go and check those out. And on there you will find the video of the Mike May's White Pass and Yukon Railroad. And it's here somewhere. Wow, there's a whole ton of them. You're right. There's a good call. Good find. Good find there, Scott.
Yeah, but you can also just type in his name on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it'll come up.
But you're talking about this whole series of videos now. We might as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but it comes up in that series.
Yeah, it does. Exactly. Man, we could interview every guy on here. We could never have to.
No, we would never worry about a guest again.
You might have interviewed many of them already.
I don't think so, because it's really hard to interview.
No.
When you start to look at that, it's just amazing of the quality and the amount of railroads out there. It's just mind-boggling, and that's just a sampling of
I know
what's out there, and there's even more.
I don't think
it's not seen.
I don't think we have any idea whatsoever at the size of this hobby. I think the best way I've described it, I think the latest way that I've described it is, you take a company like Rapido Trains.
You're a fast track to model railroading fun.
And they're not big enough to sponsor a hockey arena or a football stadium, but these companies are making enough money because the hobby is really big. It's not Ford or Chevrolet big, but it's big. It's big. It's a big hobby. And we just, it's like having a podcast. Like, it's very, very popular.
Well, it is a multi-billion-dollar a year hobby.
I know.
Like 30 years ago, I talked to somebody from the model.
That's just like this
94 or early 90s, and he was saying it was a $4 billion a year hobby then.
Wow. I mean, it's like this past weekend at my local train show. I was manning the NMRA booth, and it was amazing how many people came up and were showing me photos of their layout, and I'd never even heard of them, seen them. and they're all within 50 miles of where I live. And I mean, they were some unbelievable layouts. I was like, holy smoke. And then the bags of stuff people were buying at the show, it was just, wow. I just sat there and monitored for about 3 hours, and it was just one person after another, just walking by with just big bags and a track poked through it, box cars stuffed to the top. It was amazing. And that was not a big show at all. I mean, it's a regional show, but probably 3,000 people maybe showed up to it. But
wow, that's pretty.
It was amazing how much was being sold.
And the cool part is, after you explained to them how great the NMRA was, then you told them,
why are you not a member?
Bruce, would you like to handle this one?
If you're not a member of this, you're really a fool.
To quote the great late Ernie Harwell, he stood there like a house at the side of the road and watched that one go by.
Yeah. Would you like to fill him in here, Bruce? After he explained to them how great
after he explained how great the NMRA is, have you ever heard of this podcast called The Modeler's Night?
Oh, well, I had stickers.
I think you'd really enjoy that.
Yeah, I'd give them a sticker here and there. Every once in a while, I had a bunch of stickers given away, so... Oh, there were people knowing about the podcast. Don't worry.
All right. Okay. All right. Next question. This is an in-depth question, but I want to get to it because we haven't got to it yet, and I don't understand it, and I wanted to understand it. What is the deal with the Durango and Silverton buying diesel locomotives? Because when you and I first contacted each other, and we were trying to arrange a time to test out your mic and then figure out when we were going to do the first interview. And I apologize to you for the table master and Kelly. And you showed me a picture of you standing in front of a diesel locomotive because you had that day had been you didn't have much to do, and you were on the spare board, and they asked you to go out and run the diesels and help clear snow. And then somewhere in there, through all of this conversation and with Bruce and everybody, there's a story to how the Denver and Rio Grande acquired these diesel locomotives.
Yeah. So the Durango and Silverton, we got its first diesel, this little center cab thing. It's engine number 1, still here. They bought it in 2003. 2002, something like that. In response to there was a giant wildfire here. It was the Missionary Ridge Fire, and it shut down the railroad for 2 months, roughly, because the fire danger was so high. So they bought this little engine so that they could run something. And basically, long story short, I mean, it's kind of having diesels around these days it's a good safety net, but it's also just a good business. Like, it's cool to go run a ballast train with a steam locomotive, but it doesn't really make financial sense to do so. If that kind of makes sense, if we just have work trains to do and things like that, it's not really worth putting the miles on the steam locomotives. So the little engine started, they used it, and then they bought a couple others. And, over the years we've had, I think it seems like every center cab, narrow gauge, little industrial engine that's ever been built seems to have been here for a minute or two. But we essentially what's happened is, like, if we really want to use these things, none of them are built for mountain grades. They're all built for moving cars around in a industry, right, or something like that.
Yeah, flat land and a car at a time.
Flat land, slow. Yeah, exactly. They're just inappropriate, and we've burned up so many of them on the mountain.
Oh yeah.
So
how do you mean?
Oh yeah, there's just stories after story after traction motors blow up, or we've blown a head gasket off, or overheated them, or like God knows what,
Yeah.
Wow.
Just because they're not built for it, right? Just to be in continuous hard service for hours. So the opportunity came to buy some of the DL 535s from the White Pass in Yukon, and that just really struck us as this is so much more of an appropriate locomotive for what our railroad is and the type of service that we want these to be able to perform. Another thing that we want them to be able to do is to be able to pull a passenger train especially in like a rescue mode. You know, if we need to go move a train, we want to have something that we can just turn on and use. So they fit the bill so much more. And we started working with White Pass in, I guess it'd be 2019 was when the conversation first started, about the idea of them selling some of theirs. And so we now have 4 of the X White Pass engines down here, and 3 of them are in service, and one is just made it into the shop to get overhauled and be put into service.
So this only happened in 2019?
Yeah, they're very recent.
And because why did the White Pass? Did the White Pass No, White Pass is still operating.
Yes,
several hundred or several tens of miles. How many miles does it run now?
Yeah, they run 60. Oh gosh, I should know this off the top of my head. Like 64 or 68 miles.
So this is what's
of the original 110.
I want to be clear on one thing, Mike. I want to be clear on one thing as we go forward. And Scott, if you can back me up on this,
I can do it.
All right. While I'm quite happy to carry the moniker of fanboy, I think I also need to make it clear that a lot of the times you just are annoying the crap out of me.
Do I want to? Why is that?
I do agree.
Because I typed in the Wikipedia DL 535 locomotive, and the first thing that came up was a picture, was a Railfan and Railroad magazine, and and then I scroll down a little bit, and oh great, here's a picture of 103, and it says under a clear blue Yukon sky, locomotives 103 and 104 paused with their train at Benton, British Columbia. This photo was taken on September 5th, 2019. It would be 103's last year working trains in the North Country. In a matter of months, the locomotive would be purchased by the Durango Silverton and soon begin its journey to Durango. Photo by Mike May. It's like I can't turn. I can't turn anywhere now, and it's like you're right there. So okay, so these locomotives, which are a huge bonus or a huge plus to the operations of the Durango and Silverton, have really only been there barely even 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And there you, and there you were sending me a picture of them clearing snow, and you're playing with one of these.
There it was.
That's very cool.
They're playing with this. Yeah, that's a good word for it.
Well, it was. You don't tell me you weren't having fun that day.
Oh, we're having a great time.
Yeah, exactly. You were out there. You were being paid to play with a locomotive from the White Pass from the White Pass and Yukon, which you fell in love with long before they purchased the locomotives.
Right.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah, you're living like a rail fan, model railroader's dream life. You're like this.
It's
pretty cool.
Yeah,
then I got one question.
Holy mackerel!
Yeah, I'd like to know how the rodeo series goes. Is that fun?
That AHR has?
Yeah,
had the key is had.
Oh, they don't do that every year?
All right. Time out. That's not how you ask a question, Scott. Because nobody knows what you're talking about. Nobody knows what you're. No, they don't. I'd like to know how. Well, you do because you know.
About.
Well, but it's not a. But what about all the people around the world listening to the podcast? Don't you know that the sun never sets on the
rodeo is where people get on the back of either a horse or a wild bull,
right?
And they try to stay on it,
right?
And evidently they had a rodeo series, and I was just wondering how that went.
Who had a rodeo series?
The Silverton.
Really?
Yeah. For a couple of years, AHR produced a rodeo in Durango, which we sold. I think we sold it in 2020.
Okay,
and it still goes on, and it's a lot of fun. It's still here in town.
Oh, okay, so they still do it.
Wednesday.
You guys just aren't a part of it.
We just don't produce it anymore.
Right. Okay.
We sponsor it, but
Bruce?
But it's a good time.
Hello.
Way back in 2014, you had a chance to stop me.
Thinking back, I should have never had you on the other podcast, and we wouldn't be having these conversations.
Exactly.
You wouldn't be losing sleep at night and pulling out your hair.
Exactly. What happened?
I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Yeah. So what happened with? Let me ask you a question, Mike. What happened with that AHR rodeo series? Holy moly!
Well, no, I was just curious.
Is that just for asking the question?
It's actually pretty cool that they have that there. I bet it's really authentic out in Colorado. I mean,
it's true. It's a good time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kelly put you up to that, didn't he?
Yeah, he was just texting.
Kelly's texting.
He said, "Ask him this question. It'll throw him off a good loop here. You get it, Luke?" All right, I won't ask any more questions.
It's very entertaining.
Oh yeah,
I'm very.
I find it's amazing that the railroad carries 220,000 passengers. That's just mind-boggling.
Well, exactly. All right. So how did
steam locomotives and Rocky Mountain scenery? A little hard to beat that combo, though.
Yeah.
So why did the White Pass and Yukon want to get rid of these locomotives?
They recently, in 2020, actually, they took delivery of 6 brand new locomotives.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What kind of locomotive? What kind of locomotive did they take?
I don't know the model number, but they were built by NRE, National Rail Equipment, and they're essentially exactly the same as a locomotive that NRE is producing for Queensland Railways in Australia. And Queensland Railway is a 3-foot 6-inch gauge, very modern, giant rail network. So these locomotives are basically White Pass decided they're pretty great because it is a brand new modern 3-foot 6 that they just got them with 3-foot gauge trucks to replace some of their older equipment.
Yeah, I think you told us at some point these are the trucks are adjustable or something.
Yeah, that's on the engines that we bought, the DL535s. They're not adjustable, but they're the way the locomotive is designed. Alco was able to put different gauge trucks underneath them.
Okay, so were these? So were 103 and 104? Were they built by the Montreal Locomotive Works?
They were.
Oh, okay. Look at that. Built in Canada and shipped out there.
That's exactly right.
200 and what? Wow.
So the National Railway Equipment Company has built the NRE model E3000 CCDC electromotive diesel, blah blah prime mover, partially completed in 2012 for a place in Australia. Yada yada yada. Okay, so they've purchased these new.
They're 30% larger than the old ones.
Right, and they have 3,000 horsepower as opposed to 1,200 horsepower. So that's cool.
Wow.
They're cool. They're kind of weird looking, but they're cool.
They are.
And they're huge.
Yeah.
They're enormous locomotives.
You must
for narrow gauge. Anyway.
You must be having a ball operating these.
They're great.
These DL535s. You must be having an absolute riot operating these things.
Yeah, I love them. I really enjoy it. I mean, I'll always be a steam guy, but I think if we're going to be a heritage railroad and own any diesel locomotives, this is a pretty great piece of equipment.
Okay.
They're unique. They have history of their own now. It's not a brand new locomotive or something, but yeah, I really enjoy them a lot.
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to do my Scott impression now. So 73,000 acres were burned in La Plata County.
Yeah, that was bad.
That's a topic I don't want to talk about.
Yeah,
I would say.
Okay, so how did they get these? So how many did they buy altogether?
We've bought 4.
And
how are you talking about what we bought, or what did White Pass buy?
No, what did you guys buy? We're sticking with the Durango and Silverton now.
We bought 4 of them. We bought the 101, 103, 106, and 107.
And how did you get them there?
They came down by barge from Skagway to Bellingham, Washington, and were trucked from Bellingham to here.
Well, they were trucked. Wow.
Really impressively big truck.
Yeah, there's some pretty interesting. If you look on YouTube, there's some interesting videos of getting loaded onto the ship up in Alaska to get shipped down.
Yeah, it was pretty well documented by rail fans and things. So there's some cool pictures out there. But yeah, the truck was something like, I'm going to get this wrong, but it's like 165 feet long or something like that. Just like, I think it was like 18 axles on the trailer alone or something like that.
It would have cost a small fortune just to get them there.
It was probably more expensive to ship than it was to buy.
Yeah. And then on top of that,
they had to get stripped down.
I was just going to say, on top of that, probably White Pass, as locomotives go, they probably weren't a very high price, because who else are they going to sell them to? It's not like they were a hot commodity.
Yeah, we definitely, right. We definitely negotiated a good, it was a good purchase for sure. It was definitely mutually beneficial. We have the two railroads, the companies have a good relationship with each other, because, we're both, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that we're close, but we're both running 3-foot gauge, busy tourist railroads. So we're similar in a lot of ways.
So how do you mean they have a good relationship? Is it like you guys can call them up and go, how's the tourist game going? Or
exactly, and mechanical things, and bouncing ideas back and forth, and a lot of our employees have been up there, and their employees have been down here, and we've had to visit, and we've had people work for each company. So there's a lot of different ties.
Well, that's cool
between the two. Yeah.
Now,
I mean, there's not a lot of railroads out there anymore that are 3-foot gauge and busy. It's just kind of an unusual thing, especially in North America, right? And it's hard to be modern and narrow gauge in a lot of ways too, because not everything's built for us. So you have to find different ways to do things.
Yeah. So now these, you painted them in orange. I saw that. Mm-hmm. And Durango and Silverton. How did you guys decide orange was the color for the Durango and Silverton? Do you have any history on that?
We wanted it to be basically influenced by the colors of the equipment that we're already using. So there's Rio Grande gold, and there's we call it maroon, but it's basically a Tuscan red on our first class cars. So we wanted it to be of that flavor, and we were kind of given that these are going to be the two colors, figure out the paint scheme. So with that, we the paint scheme, I mean, it's no secret if you look at it, it's essentially the White Pass's paint scheme, but with the colors replaced. So we wanted to keep it, I guess you could say it sort of pays a little homage to the White Pass and the heritage of the locomotives.
Yeah, and
but that's really where it came from. The logo we'd used before I don't know. I don't think we have an actual specific name for it, but it's the Rio Grande speed lettering, and the way that we've got Durango and Silverton arranged on it. We've used that logo for a few other things before, and we thought it'd be nice to put on the diesels just because it's a little bit different, differentiate them from the steam engines in some way.
So when the AHR rodeo series was on, did you use the diesel locomotives to take people there?
I suppose we should have.
Oh my god!
But still might be going. Had you? Yeah.
Yeah, it still might be going.
If you the rodeo, if we had the diesels, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Give me a break.
Oddly enough, I was thinking.
Did you guys build a new facility to store these diesel engines?
We've not yet, but it's designed, and it's going to probably break ground here. I would say as soon as the snow stops.
Is it a pretty
cool.
like state of the art type place where they'll be kept in out of the cold?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like the most state of the art, but it'll be a nice diesel facility for sure.
That's cool.
It's very much purpose built.
Oh, okay.
So, because that's something we actually really lack. We don't have a good facility for working on diesel locomotives. The roundhouse is very much set up for steam engines.
Right. That's why I was thinking that. Yeah.
And it's fine insofar as it's indoor space, but like one of the problems we have is we can't lift the engines up off its trucks to pull traction motors out because all of our drop tables are built for steam locomotive drivers, not an axle with a traction motor attached.
There you go.
So if we lift them up, we either need to clear out the machine shop, which gets in the way of everything, or we need to do it outside.
Wow.
So it'll be nice to have a shop where we can actually do that kind of work undercover.
Yeah.
You must have been having a ball there that when you sent me that picture there a few weeks ago, clearing snow with these things.
Yeah.
When was the first time you got
We've
to
done
drive?
it a couple of times since.
Oh, really? You lucky dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You give me a call. I'll fly out there. Oh, I know I was going to ask you earlier when you said you were traveling so much. Like, how do you fly out of Durango, like on a four-seater, like on a four-seater, like...
I wish. That'd be a lot more fun.
And you fly into Denver, I'm guessing, and then go from there?
Yeah, Durango actually has pretty good air service for the size of town that it is. We can get... there's a couple of flights a day up to Denver, and then there's a couple to Dallas and a couple to Phoenix. So we have pretty decent air service, but I tend to go to Denver because I would prefer fly United over American, but that's just me. I know that's fighting words for some people, but
hey, Bruce.
Hello.
What's that scratching sound?
Oh no, I'm looking around seeing my cats are scratching on their things, but no, they're all sleeping somewhere. So I know after we had the fire and all the mice are out of the house, it's not mice in my house. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is. You got any ideas, guy?
Dump truck through a nitroglycerin
plant. Oh my God. I mean, seriously.
It can't keep going.
Seriously, Bruce, all you had to say to me was, are you sure this is a good idea?
I was trying to work the bit.
Yeah. No, back then, I mean, you should have said.
Oh, okay. Way back. Yeah, that's true.
Back in the day.
I have no idea what the hell I was thinking.
Yeah.
But something I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah,
well, that makes one of us. I apologize, Mike. I'm sorry.
I do too, Mike.
Oh wow! Everyone's apologizing now.
I'm not going to apologize.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry you've been dragged into this mess.
Keeping me entertained. So.
Oh, that's good. Well, there you go.
That's one of us.
Yeah, that's one of us. So now you got these four diesel locomotives, which of course basically completely changes the whole dynamic of the railroad, really, because you got these four reasonably powerful locomotives that, like you say, if you have a breakdown, it's not a big sweat. You just fire up one of these locomotives and run out there and pick up the train. I mean, man, it must just basically change the whole dynamic of the railroad.
Yeah, it certainly is. It offers a lot of flexibility in what we're able to do.
We got through a lot of this. Go ahead.
Did we?
I think so. I feel we covered the difference between the Durango and Silverton encumbers and Toltec. We talked about George the goalie, George Bogatuk, the soundtracks.
The soundtracks goalie.
Yeah, the soundtracks goalie. The problem with George is he's pretty quiet. So it's like, yeah, George is pretty quiet, so it's hard to get anything out of him.
Are we talking about the same George?
Yeah. Have you been to the Yukon, right?
I have.
And why did you go there?
Oh, just because I'm a nerd for the White Pass in Yukon.
Okay. All right. So, and you went to explore the end of the line. That's right.
Exactly.
I'm just looking at my list. Going to Alaska. We covered that just because. How many times do you think you've been to Alaska?
Oh, honestly, I've lost count. It's probably 12 to 15.
Okay. So when you're traveling on your own dime, which a lot of these trips would be, do you have any?
It would be all the Alaska trips.
Yeah.
I haven't figured out how to get the company to send me there yet.
Okay, so have you?
Trying.
Yeah. Well, why aren't they doing the Polar Bear Express on the Durango or the White Pass in Yukon? The Polar Express. There's no bear. It's a bear and it's a bear.
No bear. Right.
Yeah, it's a bear and a conductor, and you keep having these meetings at Warner Brothers, and the guys at Warner Brothers are
about the bear.
Yeah,
right.
the guys at Warner Brothers are slamming their heads against the door, going, "Wow, it's a bear and a conductor."
We could have done this on our own.
Yeah, what aren't these guys getting? It's a bear and a conductor.
Yeah.
There are bears in Alaska, so there's that. That's a connection.
That's true. Maybe could you take me to the next meeting at Warner Brothers, because I'm dying to find out what that's about. It's like
sure, yeah, let's go.
Or probably the other thing
the studio's pretty neat.
They're probably the other thing they're saying to themselves. It's been 20 years. What aren't these guys getting? Well, we're going to have one more part.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to have one more part because there's still a few things we haven't covered yet.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Would like to give people a chance to know more about the Harper family, because that sounds pretty interesting. I'd like to give people a chance to talk a bit more about American Heritage Railways, because that sounds pretty interesting. And then we want to talk about your involvement with the NMRA. We want to talk about the Southern Pacific, number 18, because you brought that up, and your interest in airplanes, and also you're on the local board of the NPR.
Yeah.
So we got all that
That's
stuff.
A whole lot of topics.
And we still got a bunch of stuff we got to cover. So could you come back one more time?
Sure, why not?
I can give you a lot of reasons why not. I would think.
Well, you've already apologized. So.
Yeah. I'm thinking if you want, I can send you the recording of this before it comes out, and that'll give you plenty of reasons why not.
Right. I'll have to be careful with that.
Yeah.
He might be doing his hair that night. Can't make it.
Yeah. What's that scratching sound? Bruce, could you give out our email address?
Certainly, our email address. Hey, could we? Would it be possible that by the time we talk to him again, we might get some feedback from previous episodes that will be in emails?
I sincerely doubt it.
Okay. In that case, just send us emails, because I'd like to get emails from you. Let us know what you think, and good, bad, and different. We read them all, enjoy them all, and love them all. So send us an email at modlerslife@gmail.com. That's Modlers with one L, modlerslife@gmail.com.
Okay, without giving out specific dates, would we be talking to you a week from tonight again, Mike?
I think that could work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you available then?
Sure.
Are you available then, Scott?
Oh, I can, yeah.
Yeah, can we pick a different...
Do you have another project on your workbench, Scott?
I will be available.
You will be available, Scott?
I will be. I'll have something to scratch on my workbench, and I'll be wide open.
Mike, could you possibly
should I get a project that I could scratch on too?
Mmike,
sure. More scratching the better.
Well, if Mike, could you possibly pick another night, maybe then? Because Scott is available.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We can say Monday night, but actually I'll text you something.
Yeah, there you go.
Scott be hanging around. Where is everybody?
I know they said Monday night.
Boy, this is a lot of fun. I can't believe we're actually we can actually say we're getting paid to do this because of Rapido Trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
And if you're looking for some really cool stuff to buy, go to rapidotrains.com and tell them Lionel sent you. Or maybe you shouldn't tell them Lionel sent you. Tell them Mike sent you. There you go.
There you go.
I don't know if that'll get you anything, but
yeah. I'm falling in. I've been staring at these. Now I've been staring at these UP boxcars for the last. And I pull that picture up.
You'll need one of those to pull behind your 44 ton.
There you go. That's what you should do. That's what everybody should do: is get out there, order a 44 tonner, and then order one of these Union Pacific 40-foot ACR boxcars. I want to get a bunch that are lettered for my railroad, but not numbered. I wonder if I can talk Jason into that. They're probably having a meeting.
I'm sure you can come to an agreement of some sort.
There's probably having a board meeting right now, and everybody's saying, "Whose idea was it to get? Whose idea was it to have Modeler's Life to sponsor Modeler's Life?" And Jason is sulking out of the room. Not me.
Jason's looking around. What?
I was out of town.
Yeah, I was out of town. Yeah. Oh my goodness! You can pick a whole lot of cool stuff on this. I'm still in love with the 44 tonners right now, and they got 4.
Oh yeah,
they got 4 steam locomotives right now that I guess are in different stages of production where they're trying to get orders and that. The CPR D10. Man, I bet
the D10 is a go. It's supposed to be out, I think, later this year, early next year. The CNR one, they don't have enough orders to go ahead with. They've already produced. They've already got the Hudson out, and the Empress is the one they're working on now. So,
how many Hudsons did you buy?
I didn't buy any, but I got a couple D10s on order.
Oh, there you go. I'll be interested to see how those work. They'll fit in with your British model railroad.
It will be beautiful with the British stuff. Yeah.
What else do we got to do? Oh yeah. So if you want to, if you didn't catch that email address, if you just go to our website, amodelerslife.com, and scroll down to the picture of the moderately agitated mailboy in a particularly agitated state, boom. The email's already filled in for you. All you do is fill in your subject line and you put in your text and hit send. So you don't even have to remember the.
Nothing could be simpler.
Nothing could be simpler. And while you're on that page, if you go over to the right side of the page, or if you're on your phone and you scroll down a little bit farther, you can see that it says Patreon. And if you enjoy, Mike, did you enjoy this podcast?
I always enjoy these podcasts.
Well then, if you
don't know what to do with that.
If you enjoy this podcast and you want to listen to twice as much podcasting week, not just on Mondays, but you'd also like to listen to podcasts on Tuesdays, if you click on Patreon and just for just a few cents a day, you can have twice as much podcasting every week. You can have 2 of these. I'm not sure that's a bonus, or I guess that's a good thing. Yeah,
it's definitely a plus.
Well, and it's our Patreon channel is our buddy Kaylee Zane calls it the Antics channel, and over there you're going to hear our viewer mail. You're going to hear us talk the fans of the AML, where we talk to our regular crew. We're going to oftentimes we talk to Uncle Dave Abelese about what's going on in his life, plus various other things. So yeah, if you enjoy one day's worth of podcasting, sign up for that, and you can have 2 days worth of podcasting. And just under that,
and you get access to the Wednesday night chat.
Then you get access to the Wednesday night chat, which is at least 40 or 50 guys pass through that over there during every day, and those guys are devoted to each other. Yep. That's a good chat.
It is a good chat.
It is a good chat. And just for a few cents more a day, Mike, you can get a T-shirt and a pack of stickers. And I'm a little annoyed that the sticker thing became so popular because I started it.
Hey, you know what you can do to kind of kill that? Maybe get a sticker of the legs picture made up.
Yeah, exactly. We were at Disney World the other day, and I was going to reproduce the legs picture, but we got off. We ended up going on the Carousel of Progress instead. And by the time we got back to Main Street, it was too dark. Too dark.
Well, that'd be perfect.
Your legs aren't wide enough.
And
I would have loved to have seen that one.
Yeah, well, there's the world. The life isn't over yet. We'll have more chances.
Mm.
I love going to Disney World because it's a giant model railroad. It is. Mike, have you ever been to Disney World?
I sure have. I love Disney.
Which one do you prefer, Disneyland or Disney World?
I like Disneyland, but only because I don't like the humidity that comes with Disney World.
Right.
Yeah, it's a kind of a hot, dry heat.
California is a nice dry heat.
Yeah.
If it's 100,
it's a hot, wet heat, I guess.
Yeah.
Humidity.
Exactly.
I went for a ride on my bicycle today. It was like 85 or 88. Temperature wasn't that bad, except I was wearing a sweatshirt that I wear over top of a t-shirt. Not the best idea. And I hadn't been out for a couple of weeks on a ride about 15 miles on the Spike Path, which is right along the CSX main line into Sanford, Florida. But I was a little pooped by the time I got back. Took me a while to recover.
Do you remember to take water with it? Lots of water?
I take Gatorade.
That a boy.
I take a bottle of Gatorade with me, and I make sure. And the key is you got to make sure you drink it all. You can't drink half of it. You got to stop and make sure you drink it all. So I don't really have a problem with dehydration or anything like that. I was just getting pooped. I'm a little out of shape for riding the bicycle. So Mike.
So yes.
So what part? So don't you think Disney World is like? Don't you think Disney World is just a giant model railroad?
It absolutely is.
I know. I think that's what people. That's why this hobby is endlessly fascinating. I think Dave Abley says it perfectly. It's not a hobby; it's a lifestyle. It's the people you meet. I think it affects the people that are heavily involved in model railroading. And I don't mean that you have built a big layout, but you're somebody that has a passion for the hobby in whatever level you are, even if you're an armchair guy, but you always get the magazines and you build a couple of models. Like there's lots of different variations of people that are passionate about the hobby. But I think the people that are passionate about the hobby, you end up meeting, it enriches your life so much because of all the people you meet. Look at this, Mike, you and I would never have, are we friends now?
I think we're friends now.
Okay, cool.
I think we got there.
All right.
But we wouldn't have been if it weren't for this hobby.
There you go. Wouldn't have been if it wasn't for this hobby. Yeah. Now it's a little creepier for you. I mean, because I'm a fanboy. But
well, I just keep trying to forget it, but you keep bringing it up.
What's that scratching sound?
It must be that old Lister boy.
Yeah, the Lister boy. It's that old Lister boy.
You got another nickname.
Yeah.
Scott Scratchy Lister.
Yeah, Scratchy. Scratchy. Yeah. I think, okay. So, Mike, have you ever wanted a T-shirt with a hot dog on it?
I've always aspired to have one.
No, there, boy. Well, if you go to Midwest Model Railroad, and their URL is midwestmodelrr.com, and you scroll across their navigation bar to other, and you click on that, you'll find the AML Nation page, and you go and click on that, and boom, you're in a wonderland of hats, hoodies, T-shirts, mugs, anything that you could want from AML merchandise. And in there, you will find a T-shirt with a hot dog on it.
I mean, I'm going to have to go there right now.
Exactly. You got to send me more cool pictures like that one of you. Must have some pictures of you standing on the rail, like standing beside some of the steam locomotives and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, I find you to be
I could send you a ton of pictures.
I only don't need a ton. I need like 5.
5 good ones.
5 good ones, and
Sure,
I find you to be a particularly handsome man.
Well, thank you.
This is getting weird.
Now it's that on top of fanboy. I don't know now.
All right. I think we got her covered, eh, Bruce?
Let's see. Yep. All the boxes on my scorecard are checked.
All right. So now, Mike, what we need you to do at the appropriate moment is say happy rails to you. Now, because you're showbiz folk.
Showbiz folk.
Well, you are. You're showbiz folk.
Right.
I guess you hire local actors, for the Polar Express,
We do.
and that must be pretty. I'm gonna have to. Do you have
hire a lot of them?
Do you have where else do you have them in Florida? You have them in Miami. Where else?
That's the only Florida one.
Are you kidding me? You guys should organize.
I'm not kidding you.
You guys should organize something in Orlando.
That's. I'd love to get it to Orlando. That's my goal.
There's
one of my many goals.
There's a local commuter.
No, you're just talking about hiring local actors, and for some reason the scene from when they're trying to cast the play in the movie, the producer's original ones, singing and dancing conductors over here. That just pops in my head.
Yeah, there's several commuter trains around Orlando. Maybe you could hook onto one of those. I guess there's an Amtrak train that goes over to Tampa, but I guess it stops in Orlando somewhere. I mean, there's the auto train that goes into Sanford, right past my house.
That's true.
Pretty much. I don't know but there's a new line that goes from the Orlando airport. They just spent a bazillion friggin' dollars.
Bazillion dollars, roughly, yeah.
Yeah.
It might have been 2 bazillion.
Yeah. Sure. It looked like 2 bazillion because of I've never seen a modern railroad built from scratch. And I mean, the roadbed is just beautiful. And it runs right along the Beeline Expressway out towards Titusville and Cocoa Beach and all through there. Yeah. So anyways, at the appropriate moment, we need to say happy rails to you. Now, the key is there's no interpretation. We don't need any singing, any dancing. There's no interpretation whatsoever. It's just say happy rails to you with enthusiasm.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. Well, Mike.
I think.
All right. Well, you want to talk about it for a minute? Want to kick it around? You want to maybe?
No, I'm going to go for it. It's going to be a cold read.
You want to maybe get Scott? Do you want to talk it over with Scott?
No, I think we're good. Unless Scott has any advice, anything I should know about.
Yeah, use a finer grit sandpaper so it doesn't make so much scratching.
I'm busy.
Yeah. Well, Mike, as we close the barn doors on another episode of I'm going to start again. Well, Mike,
you're all worried about him, and then you got
Well, yeah, but I like it to do it clean, right? I like it to be clean. I don't like it when I hear myself going bloop 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 bloop. I like it to be clean. You know what the worst part about this podcast is, Mike?
Listening to it at the end.
When I'm editing, I have to listen to it, and sometimes I'll think to myself, "Man, this podcast is bad," and then I realize the reason it's bad is because I'm on it. That's unnerving.
Quite the realization.
Yeah, I know exactly. That actually happened to me on the way home from Chicago. It was the first time I ever been to. It wasn't the first time. I'd been to the Chicago RPM meet before, but I took my little portable recorder with me, and I decided I would listen to a bunch of the recordings on the way back. And I was actually listening to an interview with Matt Herman, and I was thinking, man, this is annoying. It's just really, really annoying. And I'm thinking, why is this so annoying? And then suddenly it dawned on me. It was because I kept going, right, right. And I'm thinking, oh, boy, I am annoying. All right. Well, Mike, as we close the barn doors on another episode of A Modeler's Life, and the sun slowly sets over the back 40, I guess there's nothing else left to do except for you to say,
happy rails to you.
Kyle and Busted Knuckle, guests of a Modeler's Life podcast, stay at the Casa del Sol Motor Court and Inn, where late night dancing at the Rumba Room is a magical event to be experienced.
It's another Lincoln Homer.
Was that a good read?
Oh, that was a good read.
It was. It brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'm pretty emotional now.
I think I feel better about that read than the last episode.
Oh, really?
That one, I didn't have it as much on that one. This was a better one.